round the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such trouble. He's not just
Hello everybody and welcome back to Casual Racers League, and we jump on straight on to the track action as we have cars going on already out on the circuit. And welcome back for round 6 here at the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's Zabi here, and I am back to bring you all the action, interesting action performances and some great drives from all of these drivers. It's 12 of them out here tonight, and this is about to be great. Here out on, we had a previous race at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It was involved with a few here and there, a few issues, but hopefully this one is going to be as smooth as it can be, as we already have Evdur, one of the very first drivers to be very close to that finish line, to be coming up to complete his flying lap at the moment. Evdur 20, that is going to be him across that line now, just coming around the final corner. That is going to be only as quick as 129.1. Anybody able to get closer to him? What about Croc then in the Haas? How fast does he go? He doesn't go quicker. He goes 131.1 then. He's a bit slower than that. Anybody else that we are looking at which is going to be closer? So we'll just get that championship round off of the drivers and the constructors title towards probably the end of this qualifying session. It's of course going to be 18 minutes of this qualifying session, then 19 laps of the Japanese Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we have El Dominici coming across the final corner now and head straight in the pit. Some of those drivers maybe not having the out laps or even the in laps that they would have wanted. They're straight up heading back into the pits and not really counting up as much as they would want, as we are now coming up to get on board with one of the drivers who would be on a flying lap at this moment in time. It is Magic Blood at this point in time, but before him it's going to be none other than Zero, then the Red Bull Challenger and the championship. The driver second in the championship at this moment with 77 points to his name, goes second fastest, just a few hundredths of a second short than Evdur, but he's on the medium tire. Look at that, the Red Bull drivers. There is 2 of them tonight, but one of them only has taken the sort of medium tires, which both of them almost do as for their first runs. Meanwhile, Magic Blood did a lap of 131.0. Then came Ekahur, the championship leader, gets it all and goes quickest of them all, 128.8, and shows 1 point and a thing and just a trailer of why he's leading the title and is one of the best around here so far. He leads the title with 82 points to his name, with 77 right behind his teammate is, as we're going to have a look at everyone now around. Meanwhile, Panda is on a fastest lap. The driver Panda has been he's got 61 points to his name, equal with D-Mac with the third in the championship for Panda, and 61 points for both of them, as Panda has finished second in both the previous last 2 races, as he had a huge slide of the rear end on the exit that was going to bring him some trouble, and that is anyways his out lap, so obviously he'll be a lot relaxed in that one. One man Pablo won't be relaxed, and that is going to see him go P4, 130.2. so the 6 drivers have got a lap time. Callum is out of the session already. Remember, at Azerbaijan, Baku, he got out of that qualifying session very early as well. We saw him pretty much get out of it, and now we're going to see Ekuhor then He might be coming into the pits. What about Medu Blood? He should be coming in as well. Yes, he does. So did the Red Bull behind him, and I think now it will be a proper chance for maybe Panda there. But he's just going to be beginning his flying lap. So Panda's teammate Ghost, who debuted around here at Casual Races Racing League, and he did not appear here tonight. He doesn't seem to be appearing, but we'll see, of course. With a lot of the people having those internet issues and stuff, with the service having its problems as well. Hope this all brings some entertainment to all of you. And we're just here on live only on JPBroadcasting, as we are, of course, just about a few minutes into the qualifying session, and a few of those drivers having the laps on board. Meanwhile, Noe Acedo goes straight into those speed marker boards. Those should be the brake markers boards. Those should be, in fact. He sends his car into those. Hopefully he's got no damage, but sometimes if you get it wrong, you might just end up getting somewhat of a front wing damage on there, and he gets aside very, very quickly there to give way to D-Mag, who's on his way in anger. He needs to make a comeback for his championship. He needs to make the comeback. Remember, he was almost equal on points with the championship leader a few rounds ago, just not having the round back in Baku, finishing P6, of course. But then the one before, he DNF'd, so he hasn't had the run that he would want. But One Man Panda, he's showing a consistency move as he goes quickest and takes pole position. 128.491, nearly by 3.5 tenths, a little bit more than that. He goes quickest by, and what a lap that's going to see him go quickest. But I think don't count out Kuhor, who could well be on the verge of improving very, very soon. So would be Zero. Zero did his first lap on those medium compound tires. So of course there is some more challenge for him to come and show everybody around. Meanwhile, Pablo hits the bollard there. Lewis Hamilton tonight took one of those in the qualifying session at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and ruined his lap. And Pablo does the same, but he wasn't on a flying lap at this moment in time. Callum already out of the session. Nobody on a current flying lap at this moment in time, except for Kevin in that Ferrari. A new face in the Ferrari here around Casual Races. What is Kevin going to do across that line? Is he going to be fastest all? Is he going to give us some of a time? Not quite enough, and goes slowest of them all, 138.0. He must have had somewhat of a mismatch or mismanagement in this lap. Here's in that Ferrari, of course, but in this equal performance, nothing matters. Everything does is your performance, and he hasn't been able to do that, of course. So far, Panda should be heading straight into the pits, nearly clips the wall on the outside there of the pit lane. Head straight into the wall, try and stop the car as quick as he can to not get that penalty, because you might end up getting some warnings in the qualifying session in the race that results in a few seconds of penalties, and it might result in a few grip penalties in one way or the other. And we're just about now 7.5 minutes remaining in the session. 9 drivers having done the lap, with 12 total. 2 yet to do a lap, with 1 Callum already out of the session, so he cannot do a lap. He will be starting last and behind every single one of them tonight. But we'll see what he's able to do in that race. Of course, at Azerbaijan, he had a few moments, a few battles with everybody around, but in the end got out. Meanwhile, Evdor once again out on it. He was the very first one to put a lap time on board and give us the time and a benchmark for everyone to beat. He was beaten by only the 2 of them, which was by a Kuhor and Panda, who went back quickest by a very, very big margin. But anybody around, is the Ferrari of Kevin going to go across that line? Sure, he will be going. Improves by over 2 seconds, but only 135. That's not going to be enough. What about El Dominici, though? He only stays P2, P8 as well. Goes just ahead of Noe Acedo, who had a bit of a competitive time. Meanwhile, Zero goes quickest, and he shows the challenge to Panda, and he does it all. Sure, he did his first lap on those medium tires, and he shows why it was important to put that practice lap in first, and now he puts it all quickest of them. And he's not far away. He's only 5 points away from his teammate in that championship as well. So he's really going to take that challenge. Sure, somewhat of a time these two drivers, the Red Bull drivers, are at the moment maybe here and there in the races trying to play the team game and play as a team. But when it comes to the title and when it comes to the Drivers' Championship, both of them are fighting for their own and for their own title. They obviously would be giving it all to get themselves ahead. Meanwhile, Cahur at it as well. One more time. Panda on an outlap as well. He's going to try and get the challenge back, because just about a tenth away is zero. And if Panda's able to find just enough time, he should be able to get it along and get himself across that line and closer to the... What about El Dominici? He's not improving by time though, but is he going to go across that line? Does he improve by time across that finish line? Yes, he does. Almost about 4/10 there. He did not improve at the end of that middle sector, but got him some improvements in the end, but not improvement by positions. A settle on a hard tire, that must have been a error of somewhat by the Alpine, by the by the Haas driver. Are we seeing anybody closer to that finish line now? It's none other than Evdur then. He did a lap, but he's far down on his previous time from earlier on. Pablo then. There was D-Mag having to switch from one to the other side, and that could have been a little bit weird for him, and even going way worse than one or the other. Meanwhile, Cahur 128.7 maybe improves by a little bit, but doesn't improve by position, and once again he lacks that little bit of a pace in the qualifying session. I'm sure he'd be looking to catch back up and get back to the pace as quickly as he can, but just not enough. But has Gronk got enough pace and enough to move himself into at least P6? And sure he does so far, and just goes ahead of Magic Blood by only 3,000 of a second, with the time of 128, 110, 130.861, and Magic Blood 30.864. What a close battle this one is between these two. The fight for that 6th place will be on, and it'll be on straight away. Meanwhile, Panda once again goes quickest. Meanwhile, we're focused at the back of the field drivers. Panda at the front goes fastest one more time, and the challenge to the Red Bull drivers is going to be on. Sure, Mercedes, with the help of Ghost, would have been able to progress a little bit more in that Constructors title, which of course most of these drivers not being at attending all of these races. Unlike the Red Bull duo of Zero and Akur, who pretty much have been there at all of their races. So it would have been nice for the Mercedes drivers to get closer. But Panda, as compared to D-Mag, has been having the session so far. And the fight for that second in the Drivers' Championship, he could well be giving that point. And even that race, even that championship lead, which he could well be taking. We will only know how this race all goes, with now just almost about a little bit more than 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Everyone has a lap time. Oh, that was that Red Bull of Cahur going very wide there. Trying to get to that line and give themselves the flying lap next time by. But we were going to have a look at D-Mag then. He's currently on an out lap. He hasn't been able to put a lap time on. He struggled at Baku as well, and that seems to be the case here at Suzuka. We've seen him come out on the track a few times, but hasn't got a lap time on board, unless and until he could prove us wrong, and all of you watching wrong as well, that he can do all and he can regain the form which he showed at the beginning of the season, which had us see him be in that top 2 in the championship, which he hasn't been able to regain in a long time, in a long while. But he could well be on the way to gain it. Meanwhile, Cahur on the flying lap, just going to make his way across the end of that first sector, 1.5 seconds down. He's not finding any improvements. Meanwhile, there was a yellow flag in the little bit of the part where D-Mag was, unless it was a bug. We do not see him going slow there, though maybe he's got in the... He's gotten a little bit slower there to give himself some time. With just a minute to go now, anybody beginning their flying lap, which would be their final. And the last one in there is Zero, almost going on the gravel trap, and in fact going into the gravel trap, which could well be qualifying over for him unless he could make it in these remaining 59 seconds to that checkered flag and see himself cross that line with the seconds remaining and get across that line to give himself the time. But has Core given himself the time? That doesn't look like, though, as he's already over 1 minute 29 seconds. He's going to go across that line now, 3.9 seconds down on his previous time, but he would be looking to do maybe somewhat of an improvement on this lap around. He hasn't switched to none, and he's still on hot lap. He's got enough battery to use, and he would well be looking to utilize it and get back on all of it, since he's going to try and give it all in the remaining time and laps here around the circuit. Meanwhile, we're going to have a look at one of those drivers at the top. Zero, then what about him? His teammate wasn't able to go quick enough, but is he able to go? Not at all. Meanwhile, the Cahor is improving, but pretty much they all would be just taking these laps as a cool down laps, and the Zero is going to take the checkered flag, so he doesn't improve. That's going to be all for him. What about D-Mag? He was only able to go as quick as P6, 129.6, just not enough closer to the leaders of this race. What about Panda then? He takes pole position by a mile for here at this point in time. 128.1 with everybody taking those checkered flags. So has Panda taken one. Anybody closer not having gotten the checkered flag, unless Akahor could take it, unless Akahor could provide and give the challenge to Panda, which we could see him going quickest of them all. We'll see how quick does he go, though. Are we going to see him go across that line and improve by a massive margin? Sure, he will improve, get ahead and improve by position as well, and ahead of his teammate, but not enough for Panda's time and not enough for pole position. And that then means Panda takes fastest and takes pole position here at Suzuka, unless there could be a deniable from Magic Blood, and across that line Magic Blood goes P7. What about Pablo then? Are we going to see him get across and improve a little bit? Sure, he does improve by time, but not by position, and that then marks the end to the qualifying session. Meanwhile, in the meantime, Kevin Gamer and Evdor, both of them DNF'd in the session as well. I believe they must have done it in the session. And what a day and what a lap from Panda. I mean, sure, the Red Bull drivers, they were the dominant of the pack until Panda's arrival, and he's given them all the challenge that they could have not wanted, that's for sure, as he takes pole by 1.1 tenths, and fantastic job, goes quickest of them all. And this is your qualifying order from P1 to P12. A few of those drivers not having the laps, some of those doing it though, but we'll see what is it going to be happening all around. But just before we move on and begin with the race, let's have one more look at the driver's title and the constructor's title for you all. Having a look at the constructor's title, it's of course the Red Bull leading ahead of the Alpine drivers. Only one driver here tonight in the session for the Alpine team, D-Mag, and he hasn't had the best of the runs into the sessions. And then it's Red Bull with 151, Alpine with 94, and then comes McLaren with 54, Mercedes with 51, Aston Martin with 49. I don't see any Aston Martin in the session. Williams with 40 as well. The fight for third place is on. The fight for third place in the championship could well be in a way where very nicely done, because the Mercedes team, which few races ago didn't have any points to themselves, could well be on the way to be third or even fight for that second as well. Meanwhile, LP, Williams in sixth with 40, RB with 26, and then Haas with 20, with Kronk and Noe fighting for it, and Ferrari with 6 points, and Sauber with 4 points, as we'll switch on to the race already with 5 red lights, and we go racing here at Suzuka. It's going to be Paulton to Panda, trying to get a great start here in the rain. It's a rain-soaked Suzuka here tonight, which is going to be a challenge for everyone. Meanwhile, the rain has taken up to Panda as he's going to run wide, and it's going to be a cohort taking that lead, but Panda's going to come back at him, have the inside line into the S's, but it's going to Panda get back that lead one more time, but once again, Akor going to take it up. Back again, and what about the start from F-Door? He had a few challenging backs, and Panda's now even getting challenged by F-Door there. F-Door hasn't got the start that he would want. Panda hasn't got the start in the rain on the intermediate tires. He's got one of the worst starts, but F-Door goes very, very wide, and that is going to see him run off from the rest of the pack. A lot of the drivers right behind running off as well, and I said there's no Aston Martin drivers. That Callum is the Aston Martin. Meanwhile, D-Mag and F-Door fighting it out there. F-Door making that huge mistake after trying to challenge up Panda for that second place in the race so far, and Panda hasn't got the start from pole position. Akor already 1 second ahead. Meanwhile, Zero in third place might as well be on the way to challenge Panda. Panda hasn't got the start in the wet conditions that he would have hoped for. Meanwhile, Pablo in fourth place. He's picked up the pace very nicely with F-Door in fifth place. After that mistake, D-Mag now has got a proper chance to try and attack F-Door if he's got enough pace and he's good enough in this rain on these intermediate tires. A little bit moment for D-Mag, currently P6 for him. Meanwhile, positions are going to switch at the back of the field. That is going to be El Dominating in 7th place, but Callum's just going to get ahead of Acedo then. Acedo might just come back at him with the ERS. Oh, Acedo not being much as well. Callum goes to the inside line to try and defend. Is he going to be able to hold off El Dominiti as well? Into turn 1 they're going to go, and that's a huge break up from Callum there. He goes late on the brakes, comes back out in a second, maybe not checking up his mirrors, and that's going to see El Dominiti going a little bit wide, and that little contact, he's not going to be happy about that. He was simply holding his line. Callum went a little bit wide, went deep into the corner, and while coming back, he's made that corner up in the most unwanting way, and that's not going to shape up for him. But the fight for this last few positions is going to be on, as Kronk now in 11th place and out of the points. Meanwhile, that was Kevin just coming out of the corner, heading the wall and now into the gravel. He's jumping all around, driving everywhere apart from the track, so far at least, unless he can make a comeback. Pretty nicely done. 1.2 seconds gap between the leaders, but from Zero to Pablo, the gap is within 1 second. The gap to Panda is 6.5 tenths for Zero, and then Pablo with 8 tenths the gap. Meanwhile, there's a yellow flag, and that's going to be none other than Kevin. We're not going to switch up to him as we are having this little battle between Callum, Noe Acedo, and Magic Blood. And I think knowing the consistency of Magic Blood, he might be able to get away some points if he's able to continue those laps around. Callum has shown pace, speed, and promise, but he's got a front wing and blade missing. Is he going to come up straight into the pits? He does not. He stays out, but with a few mistakes, maybe with that contact with El Dominici, could have seen him have that. As there's already a pit stop coming in this race. Meanwhile, there's a position switch coming in as well. D-Mag has done it in the rain, and that position switch, which would the move that would have been coming a few laps long, it comes around and he switches himself into P5. And now the fight for the top 4, the fight and the hunt for the top 4 and maybe the podium positions for D-Mag begin as well, because he might know that Pablo might not be as quick. Sure, Pablo was doing a few laps in the qualifying session here and there, but D-Mag, he had a bit of a complaint at the end of that qualifying session that he was blocked by someone. So what is he going to be doing as he's in the free air now, unless he's challenged by F-Door, because as soon as F-Door challenges him, there could be problems for him. Not quite so, but for so far though, this time around. And now the top 3 still staying the same in this race. Meanwhile, this battle between the two as D-Mag goes very, very wide. That is not going to be enough. Sure, he could be driving in free air, but that is never enough if you're going to make mistakes. And that is exactly what happened for him. He ran very, very wide, almost went into the gravel there a little bit. Is he going to come back at him on the inside line? That was a very, very close battle. Meanwhile, Cahor puts another fastest laps. He's putting fastest lap after fastest lap. And Panda is getting closer now. Meanwhile, the fight between Pablo and D-Max is going to be on as F-Door and Pablo both get into the pits. And Pablo's fitting in those soft compound tires. and that might be the track drying up because Evdor and Pablo have both got the slick tires, with Pablo going onto those soft compound tires and Evdor pretty much on those medium tires, thinking that he can go to the end of this race on these tires now. Meanwhile, the gap is 4 tenths now, less than half a second between the top two in this race so far, which is going to be on the fight is at it as one more time. We're going to see on lap 4 out of 19. Panda earlier, of course, didn't have the best of the starts, but he's now going to challenge it back on and give us the fight and anything. But are we going to see these drivers pitting in? Because, of course, if it is wet conditions, they're starting on these intermediate tires. They're not supposed to pit. There's no mandatory pit stop. But around the outside goes Panda. Is he going to come back at him, though? Is the core going to be able to come back and challenge him back? He's not going to be able to do that. And Panda's going to be back at it. The lead that he lost on lap 1 at that race start, he's going to gain it back again into 130R. Flat out they're trying to go. And they make it through successfully. The two Red Bull drivers now. Zero has overtaken Ekahor. Ekahor has given up the position on his teammate. They are working as a teammate. The fight is on unless Ekahor, the Ekor's lack of speed has has made Zero overtake him as well. With Panda now taking the lead of the race. The gap about 6 tenths, so that switches up from 6 to 5 tenths, but here about it. That is going to be the fight. But what about this fight now between Magic Blood and Callum then? This has been a race-long scrape. Meanwhile, we see Kevin have a few incidents, and that's going to cause a safety car. We see Kevin cause many incidents. And problem for these drivers. And that has become, and that now might as well go in favor of all those who are trying to switch up to a new set of tires, who are trying to switch up to a new set of those maybe soft compound or the medium tires that they will want to the end of the race. Of course, only 19 laps to the end total of this race, and pretty much a few laps behind the safety car would see these guys do probably 10 to 12 laps to the end of the race on those tires. Well, we'll see what they can do. Now, so the two drivers, Pablo and Evdor, who pitted just before the safety car, a few laps before it, that is going to be all going against those, and they would not be happy about this. Meanwhile, Kevin, with his first race of the season here at Casual Races, has went pretty bad. Evdor's down on fuel. He might need some repairings as well, but not repairings, but somewhat fuel saving from him. But we'll see what him but everybody else around do. The championship protagonist, the championship fighters will be on as we are behind the safety car now. Meanwhile, Panda comes in. What tire are we going to see him fit on? He locks both the front tires straight into that Mercedes pit box, and that's a new set of those Inter tires, and that's a new set of the soft compound tires. Has Panda got it all wrong here, or does he think the intermediate tires is the tire to go on? Because now they're on completely different tires. Sure, Zero here would be thinking few laps behind this safety car, and these soft tires are going to make it to the end. But is Panda thinking that his intermediates are going to be the way, because the track doesn't seem to be wet enough? Sure, there is there's somewhat of a little bit of a rain, but not much that we're going to see these drivers, all these cars, or any track anything we see out on the track that is dry, not dry. So it's all dry conditions. The Panda might have just got it wrong during the pit stop, selecting the intermediate tires instead of the soft compound tires. This could well be on. The championship leader, Kahor, is yet to pit. His teammate and championship rival, Zero, has been able to pit and put on those soft compound tires. So are we going to see Kahor and Panda continue on those intermediate tires, or will they both be coming in at the end of this lap to fit on those soft compound tires, which Zero around them inside that top 3 have really got? This is going to be somewhat of a shape, and I think the strategic minds matter a lot. You can have the pace, but the strategy at the end of the day is going to matter out of them all. There's a little bit of a weaving going around from Panda there, here and there, trying to catch up to Kahor there, who of course hasn't pitted. Meanwhile, Magic Blood, who hasn't pitted as well, he's got himself into 4th place. And D-Mag, he hasn't done any laps on these intermediate tires. That means he's made a pit stop as well. Let's just have a look at that, on who's made a pit stop. And yes, he has made a pit stop. So everybody inside that top 5 has, except for Magic Blood and D-Mag. Magic Blood and Kahor. Meanwhile, Kahor now comes into the pits and going to be picking that pit stop as well. He's going to fall up far down and he's going to pit up those hard compound tires though. His car was ghosted for a moment, so I wonder if he's in the session or not. But he's heading for those soft compound tires. That could well be. Seeing him challenge somewhat with the likes of D-Mag. Magic Blood hasn't pitted. He thinks that track position is vital, and one more safety car and one more pit stop, free pit stop, could well be his choice to the end. And Panda now leads the Japanese Grand Prix, the lead that he took few laps prior, the safety car. And I think it could well be on here at this point in time. One more time though, but we will see. This is all to play for. Of course, the safety car continuing this lap. I mean, coming out on lap 5. This could well be the safety car restart. If it comes in this lap, we could be having a restart on lap 8, or if it comes in at the end of the next lap, that'll be a restart lap 9. So that's pretty much going to be all about 10 to 11 laps to the end of the race. So not much to play for here in this point in this race. So this disappears, and I believe that the AI has taken control, maybe because the safety car settings are set to broadcast, because it did the similar situation back at Zandvoort as well. So we'll see how this is all going to pan out, and hopefully we should be getting back the control at the end of this lap when we have the safety car coming back in. Just have a look at this one more time, a switch of positions. That is done by the game itself, but just a position rundown for you. Panda leading the race ahead of everyone. Meanwhile, the safety car stays out with Zero in 2nd place, Magic Blood in 3rd, prioritizing that track position, sees him take 3rd place, and D-Mag in 4th place. He's got a bigger chance to go after the leaders, and if Zero's slick tire strategy doesn't work, D-Mag could be in the fight for 2nd or even that 1st place lead, because the soft tires are going to be vital, and to see what is it going to be best for these drivers to on out here at Suzuka. It will be very interesting, and it will play a big part in the outcome of this race, with D-Mag in 4th. Now Noe Cero in 5th place. Then comes Evdur and 20 in 6th place. Akor in 7th now, and then of course it's Akor's 7th place. He's falling down massively, and is the safety car coming in this lap? And yes, the safety car is coming in this lap. We need the things, and yes, it's going to be then of course Akor in 7th, Callum in 8th, Kronk in 9th, the Williams duo of Pablo and El Dominici in 10th and 11th. Meanwhile, it's all mixed up of intermediate and those soft compound tires. Who's got it best? It's all bunched up the field. Meanwhile, D-Mag jumps them all ahead. Everyone meanwhile at the front. Meanwhile, the one who's going to be going at it, Magic Blood, showed that little bit of confidence to go against Zero for a little bit, but can't quite do it. Meanwhile, all those drivers behind have got it as well. The Panda has stick up to it, and he's got the restart he would want. And Kronk goes on the inside line of Evdur there, makes it through. What about him then one more time? Around the outside of Kahor as well. He does it all, and surely the drivers on those slick tires haven't got it all, especially the ones on those soft compound, on those hard compound tires. With these hard tires as well, take so long and forever to warm up and forever to take anything. Meanwhile, Callum's going to come at him, but is Kronk going to be able to hold him off? Callum goes on the inside line. They make contact. Kronk's pushed up really wide. Meanwhile, Zero's out of the race, and he's in the wall. We see his car bunched up into the walls. And now the fight for the championship and fight for that 2nd place will be on. It can't be Panda, or it can't be D-Mag. It's a position fight up for him as he's taking it all. And surely, so that gamble of that soft compound tire and that slick tire hasn't worked out in the favor of these drivers, as Zero has crashed out, and that is going to see him fall back. And that's great news for Panda as he sees it, being the leader, and 6.3 seconds the next car behind. But is Panda going to pit? Does he think it's time for the slicks now? He stays out. He says stop. But Magic Blood now heads in, and that is exactly what Magic Blood would have wanted. So does Aceto. He didn't pit earlier as well. Kronk then moves up and into third place. And D-Mag could be having a good of the races. And meanwhile, with the chance of that safety car restart, he could well be at it. And he could well be on the verge of doing that so far. Lap 10 out of 19. The fight could be on. Meanwhile, Aceto has been hit the full wet compound tires. That is not what he would have wanted. I can predict that from here, because the track looks nowhere ready to be on those full wet compound tires, and he's going to be regretting that. That's for sure. We might see him pit one more time if he doesn't put it in the wall on this outlap, because it could go always wrong. Meanwhile, Callum in fourth place. He's had a good race as well, staying no walls around here at Suzuka, of course. There are a few, one where Zero went into it, but of course, they're far away. They're far away from the rest of the grid. Not the rest of the grid, but compared to Baku, which of course is a nightmare for him. He had a horrible qualifying, then in the race he ended up being in the walls as well. So just one more time, we have a look at the driver's title. We had a look at the constructor's title early on. And we have the, there we go, we have the driver's title now, excuse me, for that, as we now have a look at the driver's title for the time we are behind the safety car. Of course, hopefully we are going to be doing a few laps around behind it, and before it goes green we could have a look at the driver's title points. A Cahor with 82, and his teammate, who was his biggest rival with 77, is out of this race, so his points are freezing now. And if Panda is able to add 25 points minimum, even without that fastest lap, he could well be on 86 points. It'll be vital. How many points does he score, or how many points does a Cahor score at this moment in time? He's in 5th place, so that's about 10 points. So now the fight could be on, and Panda's chances of getting into 2nd place in the championship are all on, and that is going to be all for him. Meanwhile, D-Mag with 61 points as well, and actually Panda and D-Mag are equal on points, 61. So Panda's going to get 25 if D-Mag, for time being. If D-Mag's able to hold on, he should be getting 18. He's going to go on 79 as well, so both of them are going to leave out Zero behind and see them himself move up outside that top 3 in the championship. Is the safety car going to be coming in this lap with the types of it? With only 10 drivers now remaining in this session, it could well be on. I want to move around. Cannot do that. Kronk in 3rd place. Sure, he's done 8 laps on those intermediate tires, but he's in there. And is Panda going to be able to have just the restart that he did the previous time around? And this time it's very, very close between D-Mag and Panda. Is Panda going to be able to have that restart? He might not be. In the end, D-Mag might not have to be having the greatest of starters. Sure, he was trying to stay ahead and get ahead of Panda. Caught him off guard, had to break around. They're going to be 3 wide into turn 1. That's going to be Callum pushed very, very wide. D-Mag's going to make it through. Pushed Kronk a little bit wide as well. Kronk was having a little bit of a wheel-to-wheel battle with the F-door for a moment, but comes out ahead as well. Kronk might be on his way for the podium. And if I'm not wrong, this could well be his first podium of the season. Of course, if he's if he's able to hold it off, and he will not be able to hold it off. He puts it in the wall. The curse might have got up to him, just running up in 3rd place. sees him, maybe the tires overheating or having no temperature in those. Hits it in the wall. He's out of the race, but that's going to see him fall back into 10th place. No safety car, of course, and that's a whole left side of the front wing damaged. And this is all. Now it's going to be a little bit of a scrape between Cahor and Callum there. And that's going to see Cahor fall back a little bit. The championship lead and the championship fight could be on. And it could all be changing around here at Suzuka. With both the Red Bulls, one out of it, the other in 9th place. Meanwhile, Kronk has retired out of the session as he retired. Being in the wall or being out of it, because without having that front wing, he might have not got the best of chances. With now just 9 drivers remaining, and that's going to see a Cahor in 9th place and slowest of them all on these hard tires, unless he's making those 6 seconds on these drivers. And that's going to be D-Mag and Evdor fighting, and Evdor's going to take it. That 2nd place is going to be going through now. Maybe those medium tires now running up. And that's a huge slide for Evdor, for D-Mag. But Evdor having a bit of a moment as well as D-Mag goes through and back into 2nd place for himself. Callum goes very wide one more time. And that's going to see his Acero. He hasn't pitted. That is very interesting to see. He still continue on those full wet compound tires. And that's going to see him still going all at it. Meanwhile, Cahor is out of the session, and that's another Red Bull out of it. Are we going to see a safety car? Maybe not. We've seen 2 already, with Pablo and Magic Blatt now fighting for that position, and this could well be on. Now the fight down the inside line goes Pablo and sends it down the inside. What a move, but he's oh, that was very close. Magic Blatt came back at him, but just not enough in time. As soon as he tried to do that, the safety car comes out, and that's now Callum out of the session. Callum is out of the session. That's now 5 drivers out of the 12 out of this session. Only 7 remaining, and the fight for the championship and for others around as well. And I think the 2 would be laughing in their cockpits, would be D-Mag and Panda, but I think they would only be laughing if they take their cars to the end of lap 19, because if they are unable to do that, that could well be some sad endings for those drivers, because they could not be going on. Meanwhile, Callum is not happy with his DNF. He thinks that there could have been something wrong with the game. Meanwhile, big slide from D-Mag. I think, as I said, both the top 2 would be wanting to go to the end of the race and only then think about really going to the end of it. And I think it's going to be very, very similar around there, because at this point in time, with 7 drivers on, we're on lap 14, and even if you're having a lap 15 restart, it's going to be 5 laps to the end. If a lap 16 restart, that's going to be about 4 laps to the end. So that is going to be very vital, as all of these drivers, no more pit stops now. With that little bit of a rain going on, still stays there. So top 4, 2 of the drivers inside that top 4 are on those medium compound tires, with Panda and D-Mag on those inters, and Evdor and Pablo on those medium compound tires. Evdor was one of the first drivers to make a pit stop on those medium compound tires. Pablo's made 3 pit stops, still being in there inside that top 4. Could well be a part of his luck, but his performance as well. So everybody's made just 1 pit stop, except for the 2 Williams drivers. Both of them have made 3 pit stops, and as it stands, the safety car takes it on. So this could well mean it's going to be the end. This is going to be the and the last lap of the safety car, and it could come in this lap, and it's going to see us as the safety car is just making its way on that back straight and onto 130R in the final corners, which are going to be seen with us all around, and we'll see how this is all shaping up with this race now. The medium tire runners and the soft compound tire runners. The safety car might as well stay out. Yes, it is going to stay out. and take us through lap 15 as well. So that's gonna be now somewhat about a few laps, and Evdor might have had to pit his medium tires, having done those 10 laps, might have not got enough performance in that, but we'll see. What is it all gonna be on, because all of that is gonna be shaping up for Evdor at this point in time. Does he come out on those soft compound tires though, or does he think that intermediate tires are going to be the quickest and the slick tires didn't do much for him? Because sure, he was running inside that top 4, but would have thought something about it. He has seen many drivers around the track and around him get out of the session and put their cars in the wall, so he knows it might be very crucial to get a better exit and better and as it stands, SN class to drive up, which is of course in that cockpit of Evdor, that it was the game itself, and that is Evdor. It wasn't his team, and it was not Evdor's own time and his own choice to pit. It was the safety car that's going to pit him on, and meanwhile the C-start has happened. We're unable to see the telemetry yet. The safety car has came on, but it sent out very late the data. The 7 drivers now out. Meanwhile Evdor on those soft compound tires. He's got all the job to do now to go to the back to the top of the timing tables. Is he going to be able to get through on El Dominator and on Noe Acedo on the Haas driver? Meanwhile, a huge slide almost for Evdor there. The fight is on. This is all nice. The fight for positions could well be on. Around the outside goes Evdor on those soft compound tires. He sends it in there and makes that position and move far long. And this could well be on. Now down the inside line one more time. Pablo sends it on. D-Mag this time around. Earlier we saw him send it on Evdor, and this time it is on D-Mag, but didn't quite make the mistake since he did not have it enough. This could well be on, and almost sends it in one more time. Does Pablo pushes D-Mag wide, and Pablo through goes Pablo now, takes second place. D-Mag might come back at him, but Pablo's done the job this time around on those medium compound tires. Of course, they're a few laps newer than D-Mag's 10-lap old intermediate compound tires. And that is what a move from Pablo there. He sent it in earlier on. That might have put a little bit of a pressure on Pablo, on D-Mag. That put a bit of a pressure on D-Mag, and that saw him fall back a little. And that is going to be it for us, moving into lap 17 out of 19 now. All the fight's going to be on. Meanwhile, the Lex leader and Pana himself is the most comfortable driver in this race so far, with everybody else very close together to all these drivers around, but we'll see. Which could well be on lap 17. Meanwhile, Evdor's going to be on the way to make another move on Magic Blood this time. He sends it on around the outside, and that is Noe Acedo losing another position. I wonder if he's in the session or not, because he's continuing on those full wet compound tires. There's something going behind those. But we'll see. El Dominici makes another move, and this time around Magic Blood might try and come back at him. Could there be a chance for Magic Blood in there? Does he go to the inside line, or does he make a move on the outside line? He might as well thought for a moment to go on the inside line, but won't quite be enough. Meanwhile, Pablo has been able to take his position and keep it so far to himself, and D-Mag might as well have not anyone else but just himself to blame at this point in time in this race. And what a job for himself. And I think Pablo, you have to give kudos. He drove as well. I think we saw him dive bomb a few drivers around, and Panda puts in another lap. That explains that the intermediate compound tires are still very fastest, but now D-Mag's gonna try and get closer, with the gap now just getting less than half a second. Could well be a chance, a little bit of a slide for him, which of course these tires are gonna run out of grip lap after lap, and made it back as Evdor. He could well be throwing D-Mag off the podium here at this point in time, but this is going to be very crucial for both of these drivers. D-Mag under pressure. He hasn't performed so far. He's done a very good job, and that was almost Evdor on the exit going in the wall. D-Mag has done a very good job, but a little bit of pressure from Pablo saw him lose out on those positions. Meanwhile, that is going to be very, very close now as we have the helicopter shot, which is going to see us have a look at this great fight between the two. Evdor just stays behind. I think at this point in time, D-Mag's praying that he somehow gets ahead of Pablo, and then it's Evdor overtaking Pablo, but this is not so far going D-Mag's way. I mean, at the moment, oh, that's very not going to be good for D-Mag, as he has a spin almost. He tried and defend. I was about to say that kudos to him, he's done very good defending, but the same place that he lost the place to the Williams driver, he's going to do it to the RB as well, and that's going to see him have another incident and fall back and out of those podium places. And I think if as far as the championship was concerned, he's going to send it down the inside line. He thought for a moment, but has to go very wide, and he now might as well lose out to Magic Blood out there, who himself is struggling as D-Mag goes very, very wide, and so wide he almost left the circuit out there. I mean, you were gonna say that this was the best opportunity he had with his championship rivals out, and he has another spin and hits the speed marker boards, brake marker boards, and that's one more mistake for him. With only 7 drivers, the main championship rivals out of the session, this was his best chance to at least finish second to Panda there, but he's got unable to do that, which is going to say Panda the man 6.4 seconds ahead of Pablo, who's just about 1.2 seconds ahead of Evdor, and that is going to be interesting things to see. And D-Mag might have had another spin. Yes, he has. He's about 17 seconds behind. Noe, but this could well be in. Meanwhile, the fight between El Dominici and Noe could be on. Both of them are out at the moment, in the middle of the track at this point in time on the grass. Sure, they are now in the middle of the track, but at one point in time now. Meanwhile, our race leader, Panda, has done it all. He got a podium, finished second at Zandvoort, finished second at the previous round at Azerbaijan. He's going to be on his way to finish first and ahead of everyone. Nobody on the verge of challenging him, and that is going to be Panda taking the victory here at Suzuka, crossing the checkered flag first. Finishes in first place, does Panda. Didn't got the start of much better, but does it all. Meanwhile, Evdor getting a penalty and getting overtaken by Pablo on track. That's going to be Pablo. Is Vergara finish out ahead of him and take second place ahead of Evdor. Meanwhile, Magic Blood again, his consistency is going to see him take 4th place, taking that checkered flag. D-Mag is going to take 5th place with both hands. I mean, I would rather be lucky to even have that with how much of a disaster last lap he had. And then it's El Dominici, one of the only last few drivers on the verge to be doing that. And what a lap. I mean, Panda, you can't quite say much on it, because Panda in the end won it by 8 seconds, but his tire wear, according to himself, being out there over 70%, that explains why D-Mag was having those issues, and you can't quite blame anybody out there at the moment, as we're just about to see Aceto come up and finish the lap for us and be the 7th and the last driver of all those that finished here at Suzuka. And a good race and a great of 19 laps. Sure, it would have been maybe a little bit better if we saw those Red Bull drivers finishing the race, or maybe making it a little bit more interesting and giving the final to Panda, but it's been nothing short of some miraculous performances. And what a lap, what a performance by Panda it was. He didn't quite get the start on those intermediate tires, but as soon as he picked up back, he did it all. He takes victory, starting on pole, and finally clicks in for Panda now. Meanwhile, Evdor gets that driver of the day. In the end, got a penalty, which might have been a little bit of bit unlucky for himself, but I think a penalty might not be unlucky. Sure, the game pitting you under the safety car could well be, but we will be And that explains a brave decision from Panda out there. Everybody we saw, the Red Bull drivers pitting in those click compound tires and getting out of the race, putting it in the wall. And I think, sure, we could say the intermediate was a better choice here tonight. And we are going to see all going to be at it. The podium celebrations. It's going to be Williams, the Mercedes, and an RB here out on the track to be seeing us. So just in a few moments time we should be going on to have a chat with these drivers, so don't go anywhere. We will be having a chat with anybody, with everyone around in a few moments time, as we're just waiting on the scorecard, pretty much the card which we're going to see where everybody finished in this race. Are we going to have it on, because we're having about 0 seconds to the end. Where does it take us? Does it take us to the end of this session? Because sure, we haven't got to the... Yes, we might be going to the end of the session because we haven't got the finishing order. And we now should well be on our way to take the interviews from all these drivers. And let's have a look at it. Just in a few moments time. Don't go anywhere. We will be on it. Having a chat with our race winner Panda, with everybody right behind, with Pablo, and then came Evdor, of course, just in the end getting that penalty with a 7 that finished the race, so it could well be it. And this is very, very interesting. It's going to be, of course, some of those drivers at the end of it. Mr. Kota was very pissed off because of the game issues. We did not see him here tonight, and we'll see. But what it's all going to be all around. Let's go. We're all at it. Just in a few moments time we should be on for the race interview with these drivers. So be ready and let's go.
I will be right back, boys.
Okay. Hello. Who we have in here? So, just looking at it, we've got Zero and DMAC. Let's have a chat with DMAC first. So we saw you do almost about 14 laps on those intermediate tires. Sure, so just take us through your race. We saw you almost taking P2, and I think in terms of the championship, this would have been the best chance for you, finishing inside that top 2 with just 7 drivers finishing. But just it didn't go in the way your way in the end.
Yeah, the tires, doing 14 laps on the inters were not greatest experience. I couldn't even get through 5 on the first stint. My tires were already at like 40% wear, and it was just going downhill. So after I pitted, I was like, I need to hope for another safety car to take advantage of other people pitting, because it was at the crossover condition the entire way through the race. So anybody could have pitted for soft or inters, but my tires were not great in terms of wear. Towards the end, I fell down the order because of tire wear. I was struggling with the rear left, since there's so many left-hand turns, especially for the S's. You lose so much tire wear, and it's just, yeah, it's not a good experience to have.
Interesting, and I think we saw a lot of the drivers and different strategies in the mid-race pit stops, where some of those go for these inters, some of those go for the slick tires. What was going in your mind at that point in time? Were you thinking, I'll stick to the inters, or maybe you think the risk on those slicks could have been a bit worth it?
Yeah, I was just thinking, every time I saw a safety car pop up, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stick with it, because if I had a box for the dries, they wouldn't have made it to the end either, so it was a bit of a 50-50 situation. But yeah, I stayed committed with my inter tires, and yeah, had a chance at a podium, but the tires just got to me. So if I had have pitted, maybe something would have happened at the end. But yeah.
Okay, interesting. And sure, not the weekend you would have went it, I think 3 weekends in a row, but still a bit of a progress. I mean, in terms of pace, still a better race as compared to the last 2 ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And that was DMAC, ladies and gentlemen, just having a chat with us. And we should now be having a look with Magic Blood. Another consistent performance, Magic. We saw you've seen a lot of the drivers do have pace and do a great job in some of those races, but not all of them. But we see you maybe not one of the quickest, but one of the consistent, and that is the quality. And as they say, to finish first you have to finish, and you're really proving that right, and really scoring points race after race.
Thank you. Yeah, like honestly, that's the big thing, really. If you can finish in consistent places or at least getting the points, then that's the most important thing. And with me being the only McLaren driver in today, I knew I had to maximize as much points as I can, even if Suzuka isn't one of my strongest. So yeah, I think I just had to keep it solid, keep it clean, and yeah, it all went well.
Fantastic. I mean, congratulations on another point finish. What are we expecting from you going forward now in the season with just 2 more rounds now remaining? Of course, Losail and Las Vegas in the end. Any round we are seeing you do similar job to Suzuka or even better in the remaining 2.
Oh gosh, Qatar and Las Vegas. Qatar, got no clue. Qatar, I don't really do any practice on, so it's gonna be interesting. But Las Vegas, well, don't know really what could happen, but the house always wins in the end, and I don't think I'm in the house this time around. But honestly, I think if there was one hope, podium was very close today. But after some good driving from both Pablo and a good strategy from Fedor going to softs last minute. Yeah, didn't get the podium, but still P4 I'm happy with. And for the next 2 races, podium is still on the cards, especially going into next season or even for the rest of the season.
Fantastic. Congratulations for your P4, and surely we would love to see you on the podium sometimes, or even anywhere inside that top 3.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, I would love to get that podium one day very soon.
Yeah, thank you. So that was Magic Blood, and we now should be moving on to Callum. Another one of the few drivers having the DNF once again. Callum, just take us through your race. Another DNF for you. That's 2 in a row now.
Well, it started good. Like when there was the second safety car, we were looking for a solid podium. But I think that if I should have stayed behind Crunk on the restart, because if I did that, then I wouldn't have gone so wide, and I DNF'd because I was turning like the corner, and I was on track, and then it just teleported me into a wall. I don't know if it was lag or something.
So that explains the problems with the game it had previously. So are we seeing that more of an issue of the game, or more over on your hardware side?
I think it's like the game, because EA have like made F1 24 like basically not good. So I'm basically not shocked, because F1 24 has not been good ever since the release of it. So yeah.
Okay, cool, and hopefully you finish out a few more races now to the end. And we should now move on to PVG, which I believe should be Pablo. And man, congratulations.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on your second place. Extreme apologies for you because I thought it was somebody else because that name difference, you finishing in second place. You should have been the first one out there. I mean, what a great race for you. We saw a lot of the drivers, many of the drivers pitting for those slick tires, but not all of them got the success that you had tonight.
Yeah, thank you for congratulations me, but it was more for me. My race pace was that I boxed first, and everybody's saying that it was a bold move because I boxed first for the slick tires. But on the last part, I still won the podium, first podium of the season, and with a new team because I left Visa Cash App. I raced 2 times on Visa Cash App, and I left to join Williams and get the glory for Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a nice little challenge to then SN Class, your teammate there, of course, at WeCarb. So this would have been nice to challenge out in the Williams and be teammates with El Dominici. And how was that fight to the end? We almost saw you two fight to the line for that second place.
With Vidor?
With Evdor, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't pushing that much on the last part because I got P2, and I didn't want to push more because I know that if I were more aggressive, I would have spun around or something. So I was maintaining my pace, and we got the podium.
Fantastic. And well, congratulations for second place, and can't wait to see you all doing all the glory one more time. And now we should be moving on to Zero. And Zero, just take us through your race. I mean, we saw a lot of the drivers switching up different strategies, but the slick tire strategies did not go your way. You individually, but you as a team as well. Your teammate getting out on those slicks as well. So was the track just not wet enough for the inters, or just not dry enough for the slick tires yet? What was it like in there driving?
I mean, it was pretty weird because after the restart, obviously my tires were cold, but in sector 1 it looked like it was very wet, but I go through the corners and it feels like very dry instead. Then I go over to sector 2 and it looks dry, but then it's wet. So under braking I felt a little bit not confident, and then going out of the corner I like spun up the rears. I didn't touch the throttle anymore because I didn't want to fuck up, obviously, but I still spun even though I wasn't on throttle. So yeah.
Yeah, just not the race you wanted. I mean, you as a team really losing out points in the Drivers' Championship, going 1-2 in this race, which of course is going to be different now in the remaining 2 rounds. So any different preparation from the rest of the drivers to challenge them and get back to the top of the championship?
I mean, I believe Panda is on 86 now points.
Yep, Panda is going to be 86.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's 2 races left. Basically, maybe Accor has, but I don't have a chance anymore to get the championship. So yeah, let's see if I participate in the races or not. I have no idea actually, because right now I'm like not enjoying it at all. I enjoy the practice more than the actual races.
Well, interesting. Of course, sometimes practicing a lot gets you fatigued as well, but hope to see you get out on track and contribute in the interesting races that we get to see here at Casual Racing League. Well, great to have a chat with you. Catch you up next week. And
yeah, thank you for good commentating and good interviews.
Thank you.
See ya.
And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Casual Racing League here tonight at JPB. This was a race at Suzuka, another entertaining race. A lot of the drivers DNFing one after one or the other, but of course this time it was nothing to do with anything that we had problems last week. It was all about keeping it all out on track. Some of them did, some of them didn't, and it was the mistakes that they were eaten by. With just 2 more rounds now remaining in the season, let's have a look at the title, which was of course coming into this race. So now Panda will have 86 points, about 4 more than Kahor, and 9 more than Zero. And Zero stating there he might not be interested in really participating in the upcoming races, but we'll see how this is all going to be going up. And make sure to get your bell icons on, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up to show us the appreciation here at JPB. And of course, with that fastest lap point, it's going to be 87 in fact for Panda, and that's now going to be about over many points with the rest of the 2 Red Bull drivers. So catch you up next time round. It's Zabi here, and I'm out.